Will please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Chaplain McClellan with the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, before we get started, I want to wish the mayor and the city council member a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. Let's have a word of prayer. Father, as we approach your throne tonight, we're so thankful that we can. And Father, we thank you for this gathering tonight. And Father, we have to discuss the affairs of our city. We ask that you give our mayor and our city council wisdom. And Father, as they decide the decisions they have to make. We do pray for our police today that are out patrolling. We ask that you protect them, Lord, get them home safely. We do pray for our firemen, especially the ones that are fighting the fires down south. We ask that you protect them, Lord, and get them home safely as well. Be with the families that lost their homes. And Father, we just ask you to give them grace and strength at this time. And Father, we pray tonight that, Lord, everything that is said and done would be that to glorify thy name. For we do ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Creighton.
Here.
Raymond.
Here.
Vieira.
Here.
Vineyard.
Present.
Price.
Here.
We have quorum. Mayor or City Attorney report out from closed session.
Ms. Henderson.
No reportable action was taken, but staff was given direction.
Our next item is subsequent need item.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor and Council, now that we found out where this property was purchased and how it was purchased, we want to put on the acceptance of bid for 1550 Schaefer. The resolution would be 3005-17. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Atwater ratifying its intent to convey and conveying property owned by the city located at 1550 Schaefer Road, City of Atwater, Merced County, California, Assessor's Parcel Number 004084011. And we do need 4 affirmative votes to put it on the agenda, and I would suggest that we do it right after the consent calendar.
Okay, you entertain a motion?
Motion.
Second. Call for the question.
Creighton.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Vineyard.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Approval of agenda as posted or amended.
Okay, are there any sections of the agenda to be amended or deleted?
Motion to approve the agenda as posted with the change of 3517.
Okay. I'll second. Call for the question.
Second here. Raymond.
Yes.
Creighton.
Yes.
Vineyard.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to our presentations, monthly verbal report by Merced County District 3 Supervisor McDaniel.
Mayor, Council, Merry Christmas. So the verbal update for the county. Our cannabis ordinance will go into effect on December 15th. We had our second reading, so it will go in effect here this week. Also, on tomorrow's agenda at our Board of Supervisors meeting is a Burlington Northern rail spur agreement out at Castle. I know we have a little problem with the rail there now, but we do have an agreement with them. I guess we've been working on that for 17 years, and since our work with the Port Authority, they're more eager to get it done. So hopefully it'll be passed by our board tomorrow. Also, I was there, I represented the county, which I'm representing you for RCRC. I was elected to the board of directors, the state directors. That's rural counties representing California. Even though we are a suburban county, we are a part of the rural counties. And we are the third largest county in RCRC. Also, I represented you at the CalCog conference, which was in Oakland, California. That represents all the COG members throughout the whole state, which are different groups that represent transportation. And so for Merced County, I represent you on that board as well. They are actually going to go through a new branding segment, because I guess some of the other COGs, like MCAG, which is our COG, actually handles waste management and transportation and some other higher entities. So they're trying to rebrand it so it's not just transportation for the COGs at the state level. Also, I represented you at CSAC, which was California State Association of Counties. We had our meeting. It seemed like most of the focus on this one was homeless issues. A lot of the times the counties don't really get into the homeless issue because we have behavioral health, which we have the services for it, but yet the county doesn't get into it because most of the homeless issues are within the cities. But we see the counties now stepping up to play a bigger role in that. And I'll have more updates to come working with Assemblymember Gray. We actually have a couple projects that we're working on very heavily here in the county, and as we get closer, I'll be able to share that with you as well. I also want to say that at CSAC, I had the privilege of meeting Reverend Jeffrey Brown, and to us, it doesn't ring a bell, but if you look at what Reverend Ramsey has been doing with Feet Changing Lives, this was actually the Reverend who started this in Boston, Massachusetts. And so we got to have a nice long conversation of what Reverend Don Ramsey's doing. Reverend Brown is actually traveling the nation, and we're going to be able to coordinate an effort to have Reverend Brown here and to meet with and see how we can expand our Feet Changing Lives and use some of the tactics that they used in Boston, Massachusetts. Also tomorrow on our agenda, we have 2 new department heads. One will be for public health, the other one will be for our Workforce Investment Board. So the committees have chosen, it will be on the agenda for tomorrow. In fact, it's on our agenda now if you want to check, and hopefully the board will ratify those for tomorrow. Also, I'd like to say that we will not be having the mobile district hours that we have this, because it's really close to Christmas and New Year's, so we will pick that up again next year. And we'll start doing that, and that's the 4th week, or the 4th Thursday of each month from 1:30 to 3:30. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Supervisor McDaniel? Couple for you, Dan.
Sure.
The railroad crossing you're referring to, this is the one going across Santa Fe, correct?
The rail spur.
Yep. Yes. Okay. On that one right there, is there any possibilities that when you have your talk with Burlington Northern Santa Fe that they might, I don't know who would do it, but start with them anyway, to see if they can put crossing gates there, similar to that right there where the main...
Oh, because they have a gentleman they usually have a brakeman that walks out there to do it.
Yeah, I understand. I've seen it going across there at night, and the thing that's particularly disturbing about that is that that's propane going across there a lot of times. And anybody that's not paying attention is going to plow right into something like that. I'm not saying that the gates would provide absolute, protection, but it would be something that would be just another something to warn people.
Definitely. Yeah, we can definitely bring that up in the conversations.
Yeah, somebody get greased out there on something like that, that'd be pretty bad.
Right.
Also, I'm glad that you brought up about the Feet Changing Lives and Reverend Don Ramsey and what he does. I know you're familiar with that. Here 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, 2.5, I was involved with that fairly heavily and doing our own walks as he does in Merced. And I made several pleas to the community here about getting volunteers to go out and walk, because you need a minimum of 5 people to go out and do this type of thing. And it's a fantastic program, and it was very enlightening. And I see Pastor Mott's in the office,
in the house here tonight. He was part of the walks with us, and when we make connections with people that are in what would typically be known as a high crime area, it's gratifying to, see them time after time, and they figure out, hey, these people do care about us, and they are in here, and they do worry about us, and that type of thing. So I hope there's going to be a resurgence with that, and I look forward to further, briefings or anything that you can bring forward that's subject to that. It's a great program, and it does work.
Right.
So
It was interesting having that discussion with Pastor Brown on that. He said that it's a strict criteria on how you approach it and how you go about it. There's got to be strict rules, and you have to maintain those rules at all time. I brought it up that we were having a hard time keeping up enough volunteers, and he says, not to put the pastors here on notice, but it needs to be driven by the pastors without volunteers, actually.
Right.
And it has to be in conjunction with our police department. And he laid it out. It sounded very simple the way he did it, but it really worked in Boston, Massachusetts. And
right.
So I think if we can get Reverend Brown here and see what those guidelines are and really set it up, I think it could be very successful for us.
Well, as you recall, we have a training session that works with that, and Pastor Motz, Pastor Alfred Perez, and Don Ramsey, all three, those were our three main clergy involved in that, and it worked out pretty good. And there is a training session that goes along with that, because you just don't go out there and start walking. You got to know how to deal with folks out there, because the sad truth of the matter is there's some pretty unsavory characters out there that you come in contact with. That's the whole point of the thing. So, in any case, thanks so much. Is there any other questions or comments for Supervisor McDaniel? Okay, thank you, Darren.
All right, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, you too.
Our next item is comments from the public. At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. To comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait until the item is read for consideration. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes.
I did not see anything on the agenda, unless I missed it, on selection of a city manager.
That's at the item number...
It is on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then
yes, sir. It's number 15.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wishing to address the City Council?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Cook. I'm at 1501 5th Street here in Atwater. I know it's not on the agenda. This is actually the first meeting I've ever been to. But I'm actually filing a complaint against the workers for the water district. I am currently being put on disability, so I have been unable to pay the water bill. But from month to month, I see on the notice that they shut it off, but they didn't shut it off. And then they took my water pipe. When they did that, they started coming out and burying my pipe, which is actually shoving dirt into my water pipes, which actually, if they just come and put it on without sucking the dirt out, that goes through my water pipes, which actually can cause damage to my water heater, which can clog up other pipes throughout the house. So what I was doing was constantly unburying it and cleaning it out. I even had to repair the pipe itself because they had damaged it. And then I put a paper towel in it, and then they came out and removed that towel and reburied my pipe. And it's been going on for several months. And then last month, the whole month I did not have a water pipe. I got charged for services as if I had water, and then another disconnect fee as well. And that's been going on for a few months now.
Okay. Mr. Bramble, would you be able to?
Yeah, we'll take a look at it and see what we can. If you could just give the gentleman over there with the mustache your telephone number and your address. And
all right.
And don't
Thank you.
confuse him with Mr. Heller. He's mustached also.
The young man.
Yeah, the young man.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Good evening. Merry Christmas. Frank Johnson, CEO, National Association for the Advancement of All People, Modesto, California, 608 13th Street. Redundancy is really something I'm not a part of, but this situation is going unnoticed. I've sent a copy of the controller's report to everyone. I'm sure everyone has a copy of it. Numerous and serious issues were discovered in this audit. 35% of the city's accounting controls were found inadequate. Atwater transaction reports were not filed on time as required by the state of California. When the reports were finally filed, both revenue and expenses were off by millions of dollars. Contractors paid tens of thousands of dollars more than the contract price without explanation. Failing to adopt a budget prior to the start of the fiscal year. Number 6, using restricted funds such as gas tax to pay general fund expenses. 7, 700 monthly auto allowances paid to council members to drive on city business in a 6 square mile city. 8, plus numerous additional irregularities. We recently contacted the Comptroller's office and learned that there have been no follow-up audits to determine whether the city has stopped these practices, and why isn't there a follow-up? Why not? Obviously, the citizens can't trust city government to audit itself. These issues are pretty significant. I'm requesting an audit, that the city do an audit. There's allegations of $130,000 missing, unaccounted for, today. How much more money is missing? Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else wishing to address the council?
Hi, good evening. I wasn't planning on addressing you, but I just wanted to try to answer Mr. Johnson that came up prior to me.
And your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Linda Dash, Atwater. I believe that was many, many years ago when we had a completely different council, completely different city manager that made all those mistakes.
Hello. My name is Janalee Liberto, and I'm a resident at Castlewood Senior Community down on the corner here. And thank you for allowing me to address the council and you, Mayor. This is in reference to the impending city manager appointment for Atwater.
Ma'am, that's going to be number 15 on our agenda tonight, so if you wish to speak to that item, you can do so at that time.
Okay, I'll wait until then.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Rich Howard. I live at 1916 Vistana Drive here in Atwater. And while I'm sure it will come up later in that issue too, I feel it timely right now to point out that Mr. Johnson, the self-appointed supervisor of all doings in the city, I find it ironic we stood to pray and say the Pledge of Allegiance and claims to be the CEO of an organization for the advancement of all people, but seems to be his sole mission to tear down at the fabric of the city body and the citizens of this city. I happen to know of a great deal of things he's tried to cover with the city in his reports, and most of which are frivolous, and some of his information is really just, I heard that there's money missing, and maybe he should take a lesson on there having to be some burden of proof or something to support an allegation rather than whatever sources he uses. But I'm sure this will come up later as well.
Anyone else wishing to address the council at this time?
Eric Lee, 1199 Atwater Boulevard. A light went off when I was hearing that. I just want to tell the council and the mayor how much I appreciate the LED lights we've been putting around town. They really work good. Really like that. So, and I think it's going to save us money too. So thank you for pushing that forward. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just got one put in front of my house, and I'd love it.
Ellen Amaranth, and I've just become a member of the city, so now I can talk.
Well, not just yet, but soon.
Yeah. Speaking of the lights, you had a wonderful Christmas parade.
Except?
But you could not see a thing. Nothing. People went to a lot of work to put that together, and it was really, really very, very nice. But I don't know what town you're in, Eric, because there's no lights to see anything.
Downtown?
Downtown.
We're forming a committee after the first of the year. Greg McDaniels is going to head it. And
Yes.
I will be putting your name.
Yeah, well, I mean, for people to go to all the work, for all those wonderful floats, the little kids were so excited, and you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
So, and you had wonderful attendance.
We sure did. Thank you, Helen. Yeah, your point is well noted, and yes, I completely agree with you. Go ahead, Adam.
The committee that was just mentioned,
Speak,
is there?
your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry,
For
Adam
the-
Reed, 1520 Fruitland.
Yeah.
The downtown committee, is that a city committee? I'm just.
No, speak to Mr. Lee, he's the one that is
Oh,
running
okay.
that one.
I thought maybe it was a city one. Okay,
No.
I'll talk to you, Eric, because I want to find out more about that. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, anyone else wishing to address the council at this time? Oh, I thought Mr. Larch was coming forward, okay. Okay, next agenda item, please.
Consent calendar. Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar. These items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Okay, are there any items on the consent calendar that city council members would like to remove for separate consideration? Okay, I'd like to remove item number 6. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Due to a couple of typographical errors in item number 9, I'd like that to be a separate action.
Okay. Are there any others? Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar as it.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member from the audience would like to remove for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none, call for the question.
Raymond.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Vineyard.
Yes.
Creighton.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 6, approving cost-sharing/funding agreement between the City of Atwater and Merced County Association of Governments for Pavement Management System Data Collection and Software.
Thank you. I removed this one because, for as long as I've been here at least, a pavement management plan is something that is essential for seeing that our streets are going to be taken care of, how they're going to be taken care of, and what have you. This source of funding that is coming by way of MCAG is going to be a massive savings to our city in order to accomplish our pavement management database. So, Mr. Bramble, do you have any other information as to that?
Yeah, basically, the Merced County Association of Governments is contributing $200,000 towards this the study for six cities and the county. The Measure V funds are part of the contribution. Atwater's share would be $18,817.59. If we were to do this on our own, it would be probably in the vicinity of $110,000. In addition to that, we are going to receive 2 years of technical assistance so that we can update the pavement management plan on a regular basis, and staff can do it without the necessity of hiring a consultant, at least for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep. And the good part about this, for those that aren't familiar with a pavement management plan, is every street is driven over by technical equipment, and it decides by way of technical data that's gathered as to whether or not a street would need to be completely ripped up and redone, or if a slurry seal could take care of it, what have you. So this is a big deal, and it's going to get us on the right path for getting good roads, getting repaired, all that type of thing. So I'm elated with what we're getting out of this. Mr. Creighton?
Yeah, I just want to echo what you're saying, and for the people that don't know what this program is, this is not to fix the roads. This is analysis that we're going to be paying MCAG to do. They have equipment that will use radar on the roads to check the depth. Some roads have AB underneath them. Some are just 2 or 3 inches of asphalt on native soil. So it'll be a tool for the city manager and the public works director to be able to identify what roads are what priority. So you'll have different rankings on every single street in town, when the last time a slurry seal was done in your neighborhood versus, like Mitchell Avenue over by Foster Freeze, where it's just completely gone. So it'll identify what needs curbs, gutter, sidewalks, what's just an easy, quick grind and overlay. It's a very comprehensive analysis that's going to be done by MCAG that will speed up our process of making the repairs. So instead of wasting time and kind of shooting a dart on what roads get fixed because somebody complained, it'll be a factual basis with a priority on the traffic usage. So it's going to be a great tool to have in the toolbox.
Yeah, that's the key thing. I think you're saying it right, is that it prioritizes how to best spend our dollars and get the best bang for our buck. Mr. Vineyard?
Yeah, just confirming, we had a finance meeting today. We already have collected $250,000, or about to, correct, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, it's over 250.
Okay, so we already have the money in the bank to pay for this, which is really nice. We don't have to take it out of the general fund. So I think it's a great idea myself, too.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay, and I'll second. Oh, call for the question.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Our next item is waiving the second reading and adopting ordinance number CS 987, amending Chapter 3.04, Purchasing System, and adopting resolution repealing and readopting the City of Atwater Purchasing System Manual.
Mr. Bramble.
Mr. Mayor and Council, since it was a subject of the Controller's report, I will tell you that the amendment of the purchasing ordinance as well as the institution of the purchasing manual was one item or several items that the Controller's office had given us in 2014 as items to be updated and improved upon. Before you tonight is a change of the purchasing system from a decentralized system to a decentralized system, but with much more centralized oversight by the city manager as well as the finance director. The authorization levels are where what I want to talk about, but the manual outlines processes for purchases, purchasing ethics, the process for purchasing local, which is a 5% preference, and how to implement that and use it, how to use a design-build process for public projects or construction projects, and also eliminate some of, or institutes precise procedures for reimbursement of employees that have used their personal credit cards for city business. The typographical errors that I would like to mention are on in section 3.04-100 on page 4. It should read 5,000 instead of 1,000. We missed that in the last review of the ordinance. In section 3.04-110 on page 5, again, it goes to 5,000 as opposed to 1,000. And then section 3.04-270 on page 11, it would change that. Those items can be changed under Government Code section 36-924, which allows for the correction of typographical errors, and you'll need to vote on this version. The other thing is that the purpose of this is to make the operations of the city much more efficient, that we can improve the quality of our purchasing products, and that we have system integrity, which was one of the issues that the Controller's report outlined. So with that, I'm prepared to request your approval of the manual as well as the ordinance.
Okay. Are there any questions from the council for Mr. Bramble to the purchasing manual? Okay. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance CS 987 with the corrections made as told by
I second.
Mr. Bramble.
Okay. Call for the question.
Raymond?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving to our next item, it's our subsequent need item, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Atwater ratifying its intent to convey and conveying property owned by the city located at 1550 Schaefer Road, City of Atwater, Merced County, California, Assessor's Parcel Number 004-084-011.
Okay. Mr. Bramble.
Before we start that, Mayor,
Yes,
I want to clarify something on the last motion, because we talked about the ordinance and then we talked about the manual. The motion was on the ordinance. Do we need a motion on the manual as well?
Yes, there is a resolution that should be approved. Actually, we do, and thank you for bringing that up. We do have one addition error there, and it was on travel meals, and it should be $54 because that's what the total comes up to.
Okay.
Therefore, I'll make a motion to adopt the manual with the changes, including the travel and the meals.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Call for the question.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Council, before you this evening, the subsequent item, it's an issue that we've been working on. It was put out to bid to sell the property at 1550 Schaefer Road. Unfortunately, in our communications with With the attorney's office, I failed to point out that the property was purchased with neighborhood stabilization funds, and so therefore would be a part of that neighborhood stabilization program disbursement issue. The person who is proposing to purchase has submitted a certified check to the city in excess of what we owe the state in reimbursement for this parcel, and they were feeling that January 8th was much too long of a wait, and so after some reviewing and making sure that how we did purchase the property and how it was presented back to City Council, the staff is requesting that you approve this resolution ratifying the intent to convey the property.
Mr. Creighton.
Also, I just wanted John to clarify that there were bids placed on this property. We had a bid process that you were able to go to the Community Development Center, place your bid. We had 3 bids. This was almost double the second bid. So the first bid was extremely low, the second one was okay, and the third one was almost double. So it brought it up to a significant value that we may not get another opportunity to unload this undesirable piece of property. So I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Bramble? Off the question.
Vieira,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving to our next item, funding and budget matters. Treasurer's report for the month of November 2017.
Mr. Heller, the other mustache guy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is November's Treasury Report.
Are there any comments from the council pertaining to the treasurer's report? Okay. Any comments from the audience to the treasurer's report? You get away clean this evening there, Mr. Heller.
Good living.
Motion
to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
Was there a second?
Motion to approve, yeah.
Okay. Call for the question.
Did we get a second?
Yes.
Paul.
Vieira,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Our next item is our city attorney report. It is ratifying approval of a letter of agreement / addendum to interim city manager employment agreement extending term through December 31st, 2017, and ratifying interim city manager employment agreement with Art to Work.
Ms. Henderson.
So we'll take this as a 2-step process. The first step has to do with your consideration of a proposal to extend Mr. Bramble's interim city manager employment agreement through December 31st, 2017. It will be on modified terms which are set forth in the letter that was attached. It has specific days in which he'll work full days, and then the other days in which he will be available on standby and working 2 hours per day. So what we are asking for is for the council to ratify approval of the letter agreement or / addendum with interim city manager John Bramble, and then to authorize and direct the mayor to execute that addendum on behalf of the city.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the council? Are there any comments or questions from the audience to this matter? Okay, if not, entertain a motion.
Or do you have a?
Wait.
I'm sorry?
I wanted to address concerning the city.
Okay, right now, this is on the extension for Mr. Bramble.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Call for the question.
Raymond,
Yes.
Creighton,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. Henderson.
The second aspect of or the second issue that is before you is a request to ratify the approval of an interim city manager employment agreement with Mr. Art DeWerk, and to request authorization and direction for the city mayor to execute this agreement. There's one portion of the agreement that does need to be changed. In section 3.3, it indicates that Mr. DeWerk would not be entitled to any benefits of the city, including among others sick leave, and that was an oversight because California law would require him to be entitled to paid sick leave if he works for more than 30 days. So we would strike that. Otherwise, the agreement is presented for the council's consideration in accordance with the direction that was given at the special meeting that was held November 29th.
Okay. Okay, I know there's probably several people in the audience for which this young lady here wishes to address this matter. Would you like to get up and address this at this point? Okay, I'm going to open this up to the audience here, and then we'll bring it back to the council. Sir, if you'll state your name for the record.
Yes, Don Martin, 1980 Cordelia Court. I've been a citizen here for 3.5 years, and been actually a volunteer with the city for 3 years. So, you know, Will Rogers said I only know what I read in the newspapers, and that's about the size of my knowledge on this whole selection process. I couldn't understand, from what I did read, why we would look at a person that, from what I understood, was not qualified as had never been a city manager, no previous knowledge as a city manager, whatever his qualifications were. It just left me dumbfounded. The second factor was that we had a city manager, aka chief of police, that we're paying $120,000 a year for, I think, and this unqualified person was granted a salary of $160-some thousand. These are factors I couldn't understand. The third factor, I'm throwing these at you, sorry. The third factor is we paid $24,000 for a firm, a headhunter firm, if you will, to seek out a good candidate, someone that was a proven candidate, not just a former city manager. And I'm wondering, could that information be made public as to what they found for $24,000? Those are my concerns right now. And all I want is a person that's a proven, qualified city manager. Tried to talk this young man into staying, but he won't stay. So that's about it, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ma'am, if you would like to come up, just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Jana Lee Liberto. I'm a resident at Castlewood Senior Community here on Buhawk and Bellevue. Thank you again for letting me address you. And this is in reference, more general information in reference to the impending city manager appointment for Atwater. When your positions of councilman, councilwoman, and mayor were attained by each of you, there began an inherent relationship between your administrative offices, the city businesses, and the city residents. You were voted into your positions to make the difficult decisions necessary to run a functioning local government. Open discussion, reasonable disagreement, thoughtful reevaluation of issues facing our city should be expected and encouraged at every meeting. A city council united in every manner would be useless and ineffective and would result in weak, one-sided decision-making. That said, a difficult decision is pending for our city. Atwater is in needing to fill a city manager vacancy. The process has been shrouded in closed session meetings, a $24,900 fee, as was attested to, for Bob Murray and Associates to gather candidates, a stepping down of a former candidate, Scott McBride, a resignation of Graham Mitchell after a 2-week duration, and now a controversial former 15-year series veteran police / chief city manager candidate Art DeWerk, reportedly leading a pool of 40 former candidates. Public information about this candidate includes closed sessions involving discipline, dismissal, or release of Mr. DeWerk from the administration of the city of Ceres to discuss his termination in 2014. The general public still does not know the outcome of those closed sessions. His difficult working environment with Toby Wells, the Ceres city engineer who replaced DeWork as city manager at Ceres, health issues, a closed-door policy toward Mr. DeWork preventing him from entering any Ceres city facility or office except as open to the general public. An important part of your jobs as representative of Atwater is to evaluate, interview, and appoint the best person to manage our city. If your position in this selection process is to advance a family's member job standing, to promote your personal political agenda, or to further cloud the community's knowledge of any candidate, then I encourage you to rethink your decision-making process. Perhaps your criteria should be to choose a city manager who's experienced with city management, honorable, and non-controversial, and is someone who has the city of Atwater's best interest at heart. If Mr. DeWork meets this criteria, then he should have strong consideration and support for the office of Atwater City Manager. If he doesn't, you must look elsewhere. There has been a past history of making poor decisions with Atwater's management team. In my personal experience, being a resident of Castlewood Senior Community and its slippery 2002 handover from the United States Air Force to a residential developer, I can tell you firsthand about the long-term results of mismanagement in a community. Just this past Friday, I had 2 bullets shot through my bedroom window, and this property development that was granted the deed to the land, he could care less. So I just urge each of you, as a community member, to care about our city when you're appointing these people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council?
No, I'm good.
Say that.
We're going to, Mr. Vineyard, who also doubles as an air conditioning tech here, is
I just turned it off.
just, okay.
Mayor, City Council,
Your name for the record, please.
Eric Lee, 1199 Atwater Boulevard.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, City Council, it's kind of like Groundhog Day. I think we were just here not that long ago. It's kind of going in a loop. Hopefully, we're going to end that tonight. We'll see. You know, the City of Atwater has a city council, city manager form of government. City council directly appoints the city manager and the city attorney, who then serves as the city's primary legal advisor. It is the responsibility of the city manager, with the assistance of the city staff, to enforce and carry out the laws and policies set by the city council. City councils, for the most part, do not possess the experience or the educational requirements to fully understand how a city runs. By law, they are not allowed to be involved in the day-to-day operation of managing personnel. That is a job of the city manager, and that is why you want an experienced individual who possesses both the educational and the experience in managing a municipality. In April of this year, 3 members of this council had the opportunity to appoint the current applicant, Art DeWork, to the position of city manager. They had the votes and felt he was the most qualified candidate over the current, at the time, interim city manager, Scott McBride. My question is this, as it is from other people in this room. If they felt so strongly about their choice in April and had those votes, why not make the decision then and save the taxpayers $25,000? I'll round it up, sounds better. Paying out that sum of money seems a bit high just to compromise with other council members, and that's a quote from the paper. Now here we are, $25,000 gone, and just weeks after the other candidate, who is also the most qualified and most out-of-the-box thinker, and that's a quote, at the time has decided to turn down the city's offer. Who was the most qualified then at that time? How were they ranked? According to 2 members of the council, Mr. DeWork emerged as the #1 candidate by the firm hired to do the search, which was Bob Murphy and Associates. I find that quote disturbing, since an email I received from our city attorney states that the consultants, and I'm quoting this, consultant developed a list of candidates from the dozen of applicants but did not rank them individually. And, I quote again, there was no ranking of the candidates individually, either verbally or in writing, so they were not ranked according to the city attorney. and that's through my limited FOIA request too. So what do we have here? Or who do we have here? And what is his experience in dealing with what will be our most pressing financial issue going into 2018, the projected CalPERS increases? Mr. DeWerk comes from a 37-act system. How much knowledge does he have in dealing with CalPERS? And how much knowledge does he have in dealing with union negotiations that will also be coming up in 2018? What is his economic development experience? What projects has he worked on in his former city? What are his plans for Atwater's general plan? What are his short-term goals, his long-term goals? And when was that shared with this council? We haven't heard anything about that. Were any of these shared with other members of the council? I haven't heard that. And since this was an admitted #1 choice by one member of the council, I would think those goals would be eagerly shared. As a businessman and a property owner in the city, I feel I have a right to know what I am getting. Just like every other citizen in this community, we are paying a lot of money for someone to lead our city, and starting someone out at one step from the top pay level should mean that we, the people, are paying for this expertise, ought to have a better understanding of just what this candidate's qualifications are, other than just being a top local pick. We need to know exactly what his plans for our future are, and I think that's probably the most important thing that we need to know. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the council?
Rich Howard, I'm back. I was up here earlier. On this side of it, the one thing I wanted to say is, as far as Art DeWerk, I mean, I don't know him personally, and I have learned over a long and illustrious career that not everything written in the media is 100% true. So I don't like to base opinions strictly on that. But what really concerns me as an Atwater resident in this particular issue is relationships and obligations with those relationships. And again, I'm going to bring up the National Association here, the NAAAP, for the good of all people, which again seems to just want to tear away at fabric by bantering the city with public records requests and going as far as to call my wife a paramour. That doesn't seem like in anyone's best interest. We're a people that pray to God in the beginning to grant us all this wisdom, be forgiving, keep us safe. That means we're also a people of sin and of mistakes and of flaws. And so by his creation, we make those flaws, and by his grace, we recover from them, and we learn, and we move on. And I can tell you the lesson that we'll learn from this one will be expensive, because as he may be the self-appointed moral compass to the city, I'll be the self-appointed future reader, and that's that if their relationship is as close as I think it is, by what I've read and the amount of support Mr. Johnson seems to banter for Mr. DeWalt, it'll be a cancer that this city will adopt that we'll spend years trying to purge ourselves of. So you're asked to consider that before you make your decision.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council to this matter?
Linda Dash, Atwater. I don't have anything to read, but for many, many years, I've watched our council try to spend money wisely. The council prior to you didn't do that. The council prior to you got you in the fix that we're in right now. The city manager, prior to 2 city managers ago, got us in the fix that we're in right now. Our city employees took pay cuts that they really haven't been given back yet. Our equipment is really not what it's supposed to be. I know you're trying to replace it. I really could care less if you hire Jack the Ripper as our city manager. I just want to make sure that Jack the Ripper has a mind on him that's going to get us out of this deep, dark hole that we're in financially, and that he's going to be fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Okay. Discussion from the council? I'm sorry. Oh, well, hello there.
My name is Barbara Reese Christensen, and I live in Atwater. Regarding the chosen person, regarding our city manager, I do not understand why someone who has this reputation, what am I trying to say? This background that is not what we should be looking for in a city manager. I'm sure there have been many applicants, qualified applicants, and I don't understand why we are picking someone with such controversy behind him already. We don't need that. Like Linda was saying, we need someone that's going to take care of the city of Atwater and its problems, not that affiliated with any special people on the board. Now, again, I'm just asking, please think thoroughly what you are doing, because it is important. I have lived here all my life, been married 55 years, and I care very much about what is done. That's all.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, anyone else? Okay.
I'm John Reese Christensen, retired chief, Atwater PD, and I think this council is making a very, very big mistake. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, John. Anyone else?
Larry Lee, resident of Atwater. Family's been here for 30-some years. I've seen a lot of things come and go in our city. Most of it I think has been wonderful. But I want to wish all of you Merry Christmas. I also want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. I just have one question. I've worked with 6 police chiefs, 4 mayors, and a bunch of people the last 18 years I've been with the city. I'm getting kind of concerned about the people we're putting in office. Really, I am. This Art DeWicki, or what's his name? DeWick? Who is he? Is he here?
Yes, sir.
Where is he?
He's the gentleman in the back.
Okay, I was wondering who he was, because in the 18 years I've been working here, I've been working on about 30 projects. As most of you know, Cops for Kids has been my big thing for the last 15 years, and I've enjoyed it. I think you ought to really consider who you're going to put in office. I'll be honest with you. When we lost McBride, we lost a champion. And I think we should have had a chance of keeping him here. I don't know anything about this gentleman. If he does become our city manager, I wish him well, but I already know what the outcome is going to be. Thank you.
Buffy McDaniel, Atwater, California. I just wanted to comment that it's unfortunate that a lot of our news or our information comes from the news sources, and I think that I would just like to put out there that I trust our city council to make an educated and wise decision on this vote, and that you have taken the time to interview this candidate, and if as city members we have concerns, I think this gentleman would be interested in meeting with anybody to address their concerns.
Are there any other members of the audience wishing to address the council? Going once, twice? Okay. Now we'll bring it back to the council for comment. No comments? Incredible. Oh, this Vieira.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. Talk a little bit about the newspaper and who we know. And if you guys want to judge someone by what you read in the newspaper, that's up to you. So, and I've used this
analogy before, and it might be easier for some of you to understand, but my son played football at Atwater High School for 4 years. And Coach Bristow coached him. And I never met the man before my son stepped on his field, and I haven't seen him since. But for 4 years, I watched him coach my son and teach my son, discipline my son, and reward my son. So tomorrow, if I had to step up to Atwater High School and the first job they gave me was to hire a coach, who would I call? Because I saw him and I trusted him, and not because of the way I judged him from what I read in the newspaper. So that's where I'm making my judgment call. And if anybody wants to talk to me about it, I'm easy to find, and I'm happy to sit down with a cup of coffee. But this is a judgment that I've seen and I've witnessed, and I'm judging this man's character on what I know personally, not what I've read in the newspaper. I know where my family and my sons and my husband have vacationed, and I know who has and who's not paid for those vacations. I know we have cops that may know Mr. DeWart, who used to work here. You're going to judge me on people I know and who I don't know. I don't judge you on who you know and who you don't know, and I think that's unfair. It's unchristian-like, and I think it's unbecoming of all of us. So I have no reservation in saying that I am the one that made the motion to bring Mr. DeWart in as an interim city manager, because I've seen him work where my husband was employed. I'm not ashamed to say that. I've also seen him pass my husband over twice for promotions that I thought he should have given. Now, if I sat here tonight and said 3 times he promoted my husband, then I think I would see you have a right to judge me for that, but that's not the case. To say that this is done, that I'm here on this council to further the career of my husband and my son is an insult. My son has served the city of Atwater very proudly, and I think even Chief would acknowledge that he's an outstanding officer. He was an outstanding officer at Stan County, and he's an outstanding officer here. I'm very, very proud of him. And even people who may not like me, I've never heard anyone say anything bad against Matt. He's served this city very well. He's been Officer of the Year and has a spotless record. My husband's worked in the city of Ceres for 26 years. He's getting ready to retire in a couple years. I'm very, very proud of him. He certainly wouldn't need me to help him further his career in any way. So with all the humbug that goes in the newspapers, and I understand in reading that, it's fun to get caught up in and maybe to judge someone we don't know. But I choose to judge a man's character by what I've seen from afar. And just like I explained, like I did with the football coach, I saw him do good and bad. Mr. DeWart has been very active when he was in the city of Ceres. He implemented and was very instrumental in getting their Measure H passed, worked with the city of Atwater and helped us to put ours together. That was really big. So moving forward, tonight my vote is going to be for him, but my choice is to give the man a chance because I do believe in him. And if you have any questions, I think he would be very happy to have a cup of coffee with anyone in this room, and let's judge the man on his character and what he can prove. Not a lot of people in line to come work here. And no matter what we've put in the paper about this man, no matter what we've said about him that I think has been unfair, yet he stands here tonight listening to everyone with their good or their bad, and he wants to help, and he's proud to represent us. So I think that says a lot for him and his character. But at any time you ever want to call me and say, hey, I don't get what you did, I don't get it, please call me. I haven't had a single person before tonight, even knowing this was in the paper, reach out and say one negative word or ask me why I voted or where I stood. So I just want everyone to know that this is why I make the choice I do. It's because I've seen it and I believe in him, and I believe on judging people in what we know and not what we read in the newspaper. I live the life. 3/4 of what the newspaper writes is not correct. I can prove it. So if you guys have questions about that, or you want to question my integrity or what I stand here and say tonight, my phone number is 209-201-2463. You can call me, text me, stop by my office. I work and live locally with my family and my 8 grandchildren, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Cindy. Ryan, do you have anything that you want to add?
Maybe ask Mr. Dwork, he'd like to come up and say anything.
Well, let's go through the comments here and all that. Do you have any other comments right now?
No.
Okay. Mr. Vineyard.
I do. In some ways, I agree with Councilwoman Vieira. I myself, 3 years ago, when I was running, was just blitzkrieged with negative information in the newspaper. Lies, false accusations. I made a couple of mistakes. I apologize to Mr. Raymond for that one, for one of them. I apologize to the people out there by taking an article for about a week, I think it was, because my committee and myself made a mistake about patches on a flyer we sent out. I got roasted by innuendos, accusations, never got one apology in the 3 years I've been up here, saying, hey, we're sorry, we're wrong. Things happen in the paper. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't answer phone calls a lot. And I don't comment on what other council members say in the paper, because I figure if they have a problem with me, they can come to me one-on-one. Or if I have a problem with them, I'll go one-on-one. Or we'll take it to closed door, because we do discuss some heated things in there. I don't just judge somebody by what's in the paper. I judge by investigation. That's when I came on this council. I said, I will look into everything. I will listen to everybody. Just like Ms. Vieira, you can call me anytime, I can talk. If not, I'll get back to you. And I take in all the facts. Newspaper facts, facts when I talk to other people in other cities, facts when I talk to the public. I listen. I do more listening than I do talking. Why? Because you hear a lot. And you don't get things in the way. You get in the way when you start asking a lot of questions when people are talking to you. So I base my judgment on the turmoil we've already had. We've been at this for a year. Should have been done in 6 months. We got the list. There was no rankings. It was alphabetical. Things happened. Decisions were made. Now, Mr. Bramble's going to be gone, unfortunately. I think he's done a fantastic job in the little time he's been here. But I can see why, he's moving on. He has family stuff and other things he wants to do. But we have candidates out there that we've already interviewed. It could be resolved real quickly. Even if we have to get him here, costing the city more money, which I don't want to do. We've already spent more than $25,000. You got to add in lawyer fees, airfare, meals. We get attacked every council meeting, similar to Siri's council getting attacked, similar to Turlock's council getting attacked. I don't like that turmoil brought to the city anymore, because we're not accomplishing anything. All we're doing is spinning our wheels, spending more money that we're trying to save. I have nothing personal of anybody we act. I talked about the last candidate and was honest and open. I'm doing the same thing here, and I got accused of embarrassing him. I can't embarrass anybody, sorry. If you have something you're hiding and I say something that's factual and that embarrasses you, that is really not my fault or my problem. I'm sorry you're embarrassed. But I'm going to speak the facts, and I'm going to vote a common sense vote for all 30,000 people in this city, because that's who I was elected by. Thank you.
And then there was me. I'm going to kind of repeat some of the things I said when we had the last candidate before. And even though this may rub a few people wrong, well, that's just the way it goes. When you're in a position such as we are, you better be able to take the ugly with the good and have some broad shoulders to carry it on. When I took this job, as we all did, and I will say this once again, we are all here to perform oversight. Oversight in lots of different respects, starting with the money that very few dollars that we have. We all know what our financial condition is here. And it's one of those things that it's incumbent on all of us, us five, to make sure that we spend that precious few dollars as wisely as we can. It's also incumbent on us to do what is in the best interest of 30,000 people, give or take. I won't be doing any kind of voting up here for a special interest. I came into office without a special interest group, and I'm proud of that fact. I have no ties to anybody. But I think Mr. Vineyard is correct. In that the history of this thing goes back, actually, I think more than a year. But the point being is this. We had an opportunity as just the city to go out to find our candidate when Frank Pietro retired. We had some, I want to say 24 applicants respond, and when it came down to interview process, those of us that were on the council, we made our selections, and lo and behold, it came down to just two people, Scott McBride and Art DeWerk. That was the only interviews that we had to choose from at that time. And shortly thereafter, we all know about the incident at the almond tree, and I'm not going to rehash that. But the point of it is this. We went and we put back into play going into a selection process. We hired Murray & Associates to do the headhunting, as it's been said, at a cost of somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000. In addition to that, now that we're at where we're at today, we're looking at also at attorney's fees, we're looking at travel expenses, we're looking at a wide variety of costs. So I would think we're probably pushing 60 grand in this, and we're still not done. So what's disturbing to me is this. When we made our selection for Mr. Mitchell, we, as a council, we had a plan B. And should Mr. Mitchell decline, for whatever reason, our plan B was in place. When Mr. Mitchell declined the position, it was clear to me that we were ready to go with our plan B. Mr. DeWerk is not our plan B. Someone else was. We have other candidates, and those candidates, between them, there is 47 years of experience in city administration as city managers. Now, I want this process to get over with just as much as the next person. When I was interviewed by Gary Phelps, who is the attorney that worked for the consultant, and he asked each of us individually, what did we want to see in a person to fill the city manager position? First thing I told him was, I don't want anybody local. That was the first thing I said. I don't want anybody anywhere close to here, so as that we don't have any hint of any kind of controversy, any kind of problem. The second thing I told him was, we need to have somebody who can be familiar or is familiar with the issues that surround California. And what I meant by that was that somebody that comes up, let's say from San Diego or Orange County, someplace like that, for example, would be fine. They're out of the area and they're familiar with California issues. Well, as it turns out, the candidates, the horses that I liked in the race, they weren't from California, but had some California ties. And I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to mention even what areas of wherever they come from. But it suffices to say this. The people that we have that are on deck right now are people that, as I said, between the two of them, they have 47 years of experience. And they have very, very good ideas. One of them even left this when they interviewed. What I'm going to do in 100 days. My first 100 days. It's a roadmap. It's a checklist. It's exactly what this city needs. And with an interim, another interim right now, I am just, enough. Enough is enough. Our employees throughout this city are in turmoil right now, for whatever reason. They are in turmoil. They have no clue what's going on, and just the whole process has got them completely upside down. We've got to end that. We've got to get back on track. I want to see a permanent city manager here. I want somebody here who is going to be with a long track record of city management. We have those people. They're in the bullpen, and they're ready to come on out and get on the mound. That's what I want to see. I have issues with the current contract that we are offering. I think the amount of compensation is too much. I think step 5 of a 6-step pay process, I think is too high. I think we can do this process within 60 days, 60 to 90 days. To stretch it out, I think, is just not where it needs to go. We need to get this done. We can get it done. As a matter of fact, when we had a special meeting here just a week and a half ago or so, I really thought that was going to be a 10-minute meeting and come out of there and we were done. We're not done. I also, even though we had interviews with Mr. DeWerk and Mr. McBride at the time, I'd like to have another interview if we're going to do that. I'd like to have another interview with Mr. DeWerk and find out a few things, because there's a whole lot of questions to get answered, and we're all speculating, but we don't have answers. I would like to see that as well. But in any case, as it stands right now, contract in its current form and where we're headed with this particular appointment, I can't support it. So, in any case, those are my comments, and I just want to make sure that people know that my special interest group here is 30,000 residents. Despite what Mr. Warshall is writing and the attacks that he's making on me personally, this city is my interest group.
Expended, and we fully expect that they will be expended during this fiscal year.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can we
Mr.
close the
Jantz,
door, please?
Officer Jantz, can you close the door there, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you want me to start again?
No, I think
Go
you're
ahead,
okay where you're at, but.
just where you're at.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you.
So, unfortunately, we did not rebudget these funds, and we are required to do so under budget law. So, what I'm asking is that you approve some amendments to the budget to cover the Juniper Avenue bike path and sidewalk infill project. It's a California air quality management project. It's also for traffic signal synchronization. We have some engineering that is being done on the traffic signal synchronization, as well as the bike path on Juniper, and also for the Buhack Road sidewalk infill project. We have an ongoing item that we were not aware of until kind of August of this year, and that's regarding the fire facility impact fee, and we will be budgeting that annually as we go forward. We do have the low and moderate income housing asset fund, and we have some professional services that we need to expend for this. This is part of our housing element, and it will be it's the contract with RSG, which already has been entered into. Wastewater Enterprise Fund for professional services as it relates to environmental quality and land planning, and it relates to the former wastewater treatment plant on Commerce Avenue that we have been working on for quite a while. In addition to those rebudgets, we have two new budget item requests. The first one is to cover the cost of the pavement management plan in the amount of $18,818 from Measure V funds, and then $27,655 out of Measure H funds for the purchase of portable radios and chargers and microphones for the police department. Unfortunately, we're down to 3 units. These are items that tend to be damaged often just because of confrontations and getting in and out of vehicles. We would request that we be able to buy 10 additional portable radios for the safety of our officers. And I will tell you that Measure H, even with the expenditures that we have forecasted, should end the year well in excess of $625,000 in terms of excess revenues that can be used in future years. So with that, I will answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Vineyard?
Yeah, on the fire facility impact fee, I just want to make sure that's not a typo. It's only $111 when everything else is quite a bit more, or is that per building?
No, that's the building property tax.
That's total.
That's total.
Okay, that amazes me. Okay. Also, something we discussed in finance meeting, we're taking a hit from the lighting districts, is that correct?
Yes, we will be faced with some expenditures either out of the general fund or the gas tax fund for covering the cost of the lighting maintenance districts. There's a couple of options that we have available for this year, and then it's an issue that needs to be addressed next year as we're doing the assessment fees as to whether we keep the 1937 or 1918 Act maintenance districts, or whether we go with a new community facility district that would be much more expansive. But that's an issue that will have to be dealt with during the budget process.
And also one more thing, I know it just shows the one with the general fund, or the two with general fund. That takes away from the bottom line of what we had left over. Do we have a new bottom line?
Actually, it's the same amount. It's just that we rebudgeted the amount because we had not gotten into our match dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Question on the cost for the radios and chargers and what have you. And actually, maybe Chief Joseph can answer this question better. With respect to the microphones that are being damaged, have you ever explored possibly the headset type, the ones that are...
Those are also included at times. They can purchase them themselves. We do purchase those for them. But what you're talking about is the mic. That still connects to the ear. You still need that mic for that.
Oh, you still need the hand mic for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I was just thinking about, would there be a cost difference on that or something, but, okay. Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Bramble pertaining to the budget amendment proposed? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the budget change proposal.
Is there a second? Okay. Are there any members of the audience who would like to speak to this matter? Okay, call for the question.
Creighton?
Yes.
Vineyard?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Our next item is verbal report regarding proposed marijuana cultivation process and fees.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm going to introduce this, and I'm asking Blake Dunford, our graduate student intern, to go through the flow chart. Both Mr. Terpstra and I have been reviewing this and trying to figure out if this is the most efficient way to have business people get through our marijuana business license application process. And I'm going to have Blake explain it, just the steps, and then we can open it up for questions that you might have.
Mr. Creighton, did you have one?
What if we take a recess for 10 minutes?
You can.
This probably be pretty lengthy, I bet.
It's
It
going to have
tends-
some
it tends
length
to be.
too, but it really depends on your questions.
Okay. If 10 minutes will do for you?
It's a pleasure to the council. I'm just
Yeah.
asking.
No, that's fine. Okay, we'll take 10 minutes.
8.5?
8.5.
Jim said 8.5.
Okay, we're back in session, and Don, if you'll go to the next agenda item.
Rereading our next agenda item, which is our verbal report regarding proposed marijuana cultivation process and fees.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I know that you have been getting contacted by potential businesses wanting to start the process for marijuana cultivation, business licensing, and so what we have done tonight is we are providing you with a draft of the process that has been worked out so far between the city attorney and myself, plus staff. I'm asking Blake Dunford to make the presentation because he's been working on this and kind of the go-between. He's our graduate intern and has been very valuable, not only on this process, but several others, including the purchasing manual. So Blake, why don't you come up and give them an overview of what we are anticipating in terms of our process.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The handout before you outlines our draft process created through staff involvement. And in broad strokes, we're looking at several smaller applications within the whole process. The process kicks off with the applicant coming to the planning department and speaking with them to create a reimbursement agreement and go into a development agreement. And this development use agreement will allow them to proceed to the application stage. They will receive an application packet, which we are currently envisioning would look like a welcome letter from the city, several frequently asked questions, and the whole application. The applications include the business license application, which is our basic business license application with a couple slight changes for marijuana. The regulatory permit application, which will be going to the police department and will also include business, security, and operating plans. And then there will also be an employee permit application for which every employee of the marijuana business will need to fill out and submit to the city. The police department will be responsible for regulatory permits and employee permits. Once they receive those, they will be, it is the responsibility of the chief of police to take it and present it to the CDRC. The CDRC will make their recommendation to you, and you will decide to approve or deny. Once we receive your approval, planning, fire, police, public works, and building will all meet to discuss the particulars of the business, and will inspect the premises to make sure it is in line with state law and city ordinance. Once those inspections are passed, the applicant will receive a certificate of occupancy, and will then just need to pay the revenue raising fees and any other additional appropriate taxes and fees as approved by the City Council and the citizens of Atwater. Are there any questions?
Mr. Vineyard, you punch in first.
In reading this, I see it says the approved license is going to be sent by mail. I just want to confirm a couple of things. One, is that license actually going to be written here and sent to them, or is that going to be from the outside business license certificate company we're using now, because there's issues there?
I believe as the process stands right now, we were going to use the outside company.
Okay, then I would like us to look at some way to put some tracking on that so that it doesn't get lost like a lot of business licenses have, because these are all important issues. All business licenses are really extremely important, but some get lost out there for some reason. And there's been cases where business hasn't had a license for 2 or 3 years, paid their money, but never got their license. And I want to make sure that we track it somehow and expedite, if we have to, some of these licenses, because there's no sense holding things up, waiting, because that affects the whole process. And then the other thing I was wondering, what's the time frame from beginning to end? Is there a estimated time frame
We were attempting to put a time frame on there originally, but we won't really know until we go through the first couple and be able to nail it down.
Okay. So. Yeah, because I know coordinating us with the CDRC is probably one of the bigger issues that we have time-wise. Yeah. Thank you.
And we need a little more time of Mr. Terpstra to help us with what he anticipates the timelines. Unfortunately, he's had some other issues that have been on the top of his priority list. So,
Sure, absolutely.
we're still working. We had a time frame, and then we realized that we were probably shooting in the breeze. And then we will take into accord the business licensing firm who we are in the process of meeting with to discuss their timeframes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was my question also. Muni Services these days has really dropped the ball as far as our businesses are concerned. I'm getting multiple calls from businesses that are saying that they didn't get a first billing and they're getting a second billing with a late fee. So, you know, we've got to get a handle on that. I agree with Mr. Vineyard on that one. Yeah, some sort of tracking on this, because there's a lot of people that are, wanting to get going here.
Okay.
And so, whatever we can do to streamline this process and get it through, like you say, you're going to have to get your feet wet a couple of times here on this to see just where the high and low points are of this.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. One of the ways that we were hoping to streamline is by creating an application packet, so then that way the applicant only has to come to City Hall once or twice rather than coming back for each individual permit.
Right. Okay. Okay, well, whatever we can do to, make this a whole lot more customer friendly, I'm all for it, and hopefully we can resolve these issues with Muni Services and get that. Have you had that discussion with them?
No, it's coming up.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other comments or questions from the council? Anybody from the audience wish to make any comments to this? Mr. Creighton.
As the city manager said, that we're still working with legal on this. There's some questions regarding the fees versus the development agreement fees, and there's some concerns with some of the potential applicants. I want to make sure that they know that we're addressing those issues. Their concern is in the application, there's fees, and then in the development agreement, there'll also be costs and expenses and fees, that we don't become redundant. And I want to make sure that we assure the people that are going through the process that we're not going to be double dipping on things to make this, that there's a cost benefit analysis that the city manager and staff that's going to be negotiating these things will come to a conclusion, try to get the most we can for it. The applicant's going to say whether that works or not, and we come to a solution. It's not going to be anything unusual or unheard of. So I want to put people at ease that the process is being tweaked a little bit, and we'll refine that.
Yeah, actually, so you've got two separate processes. The development agreement deals with much more than just the operation of the business, but deals with the architecture, the quality of the facility, whether it meets all of the criteria, the whole issue of the education fees, plus.
Yeah, like the education fees. I support that, but we need to put a dollar amount on that, because
yes,
that's, looking through their prism back this way, I think it could be scary. What is it, $1 million, or is it $25? So we're going to need to resolve that, and staff's working on that.
Well, that really will be a number that the school district will have to give to us.
And if
it's $1 million, let's say it's $1 million, which hopefully it
Right.
isn't, then I think the city is going to have to say something about, is this an overdue or is it really necessary? So
right, and I think on that fee issue, that we put a time frame so that doesn't hold us up in our process. And then they could put whatever they want as a recommendation, but at the end, we still approve that fee amount.
Correct.
Whether we agree to that or not. So we're not going to be subject to the school district. We'll still have common sense approach up here. So, and I don't think it's anybody's intention to have an unreasonable fee. We're not looking to start a whole new school district.
No, and the other fee regarding the regulatory permit is really regarding their operations, their security, and whether they can be licensed as operators.
So wouldn't you say that we're going to copy other successful municipalities? We're trying to figure out how to go through that process and be successful also.
Yes.
And I think the last point, and a couple of people have said this to me, both on council as well as a couple of citizens, we may have a little more redundancy in our annual review than some of the other cities. That's the main area that I've looked at, and it may be an issue that the city council will want to reevaluate and reassess once you get into this process.
I agree.
Okay. Any other comments or questions pertaining to this issue? This is just a briefing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
City council matters, city council comments.
Mr. Raymond, start us off.
I don't have too much. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Jesus loves you.
Mrs. Vieira.
No, I think I've said enough tonight. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Mr. Creighton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. I don't know if anybody's noticed out at Veterans Park, but the Castle Air Force Base alumni, which I belong to also, and I believe the mayor belongs to that.
Actually, I don't, but
You don't?
I
Well, I was going
am
to give you
aware of
credit,
them.
but I'm just trying to throw you a bone. Anyway, the guys out there, guys and gals that belong to the Castle Air Force Base alumni, I'm past Air Force. I used to pick up my paychecks out there. That's how they let me into the group. They went out over this past weekend, and they rebuilt the barbecue. And they took the floor tiles out of the kitchen there at the Castle Veterans Park, what do you call that? Pavilion. And they've removed some of the old derelict stoves and refrigerators and old freezers. And they're spending their own time, their own money, cleaning that place up. And I'm donating my time and my money and some paint. And I encourage others to do that. They actually set up, and I'm jumping in on what they've started. They set up a GoFundMe account, the GoFundMe.com /3Y9H4 is the account that you could donate to fix up that pavilion if you want to donate to that. If not, you could get a hold of those guys and volunteer your time out there. They're doing, it's completely professional work. They disassembled it and reassembled the masonry that goes around the barbecue. They have stainless steel they're going to put around it. This is a lot of money and time these guys are doing. And some of these guys, they build street rods and custom cars, so they have the skills that are just phenomenal. And there's a mason out there, there's an electrician helping, and the community of Atwater does care, and not with the direction or help of the council. These guys and gals all got together and just went out and did that. And that's a testament to Atwater, how positive things are here. And we're never going to stop fighting to make Atwater better. And it's just a great thing, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. And if you want to get involved, I can get you in contact with the people in charge of the Castle Air Force Base alumni. And then also I wanted to just wish everybody Merry Christmas, and the leaf pickup's currently underway. Public Works is doing a good job. Rake your leaves up. Don't put sticks and trash in it so that they can pick it up quicker. They got to make a lot of trips. And have a Merry Christmas and a New Year.
Mr. Vineyard.
I think that's great. Essentially, it sounds like the alumni have adopted Veterans Park, which I think is a fantastic thing. Maybe we need to make a plaque for that as well.
Well,
we've done it at a couple other parks, and
I don't think they're asking for a plaque, but I think that
I think they need to
maybe some certificates or something, Mayor, when they get done.
I think they need to be acknowledged.
We'll
in
talk
some
about
way.
that. Yeah.
But
I agree.
I mean, I paid for it before. Christmas, the Christmas lights downtown, Christmas parade. It was really fantastic. It was really dark. I was at the end of the parade, looking all the way back down, and there were some logistical issues, which the chamber and President and I have talked that they're going to address. I'm going to volunteer for that committee because I think we need to have the Christmas lights up. It's nothing against our staff or anything. I think that's a great community thing is to do that. And I think they ought to be up Monday after Thanksgiving all the way to the Monday after New Year's. and we need to bring that pride back downtown. Only heard one complaint from entrant that said there's people's feet were out in the street too much, but when you're 20, 30 deep on a sidewalk, there's not many places to put your feet. But in all cases, I thought it went extremely well. We didn't have the traffic problems we've had before. Merry Christmas, obviously. Happy New Year's. We won't see you till after that. Continue to talk to us. Continue to try to reach us if you can't reach us. I don't think there's anybody up here that would really shut off their phone on purpose. People have a voice, and you need to speak it. I've already talked to Mr. DeWort this evening. He was being interviewed. Gave him my business card. Him and I will be talking. I want the city employees to continue working as hard as they already do. The city's going to get better. We've done a lot of good in the last 3 years. We have work to do, sure do. We have a deficit we're still working on. That was huge by decisions made in the past, and you can always blame the past for everything that goes wrong. But you still got to move forward to the future. And we need to continue working on that. We're going to have disagreements up here. Wouldn't be a city council if we didn't. And that's okay. We need to have those because you're going to get opinions. You're going to get to see some things from a different light, from a different viewpoint. And so while everybody may be out there laughing, there's a couple of cities I've read recently in the paper that are going through things worse than us with their councils. So keep the faith, keep supporting, and stay safe out there. Slow down. Oh, there's one more thing. Linden, the speed limit signs that were up because we didn't have a traffic study, the officers couldn't enforce the speed limit on Linden. Those signs were taken down. And the traffic officer informed me he's got somebody that went through there about 50 miles an hour, another person that went through 60 miles an hour, and another person that went 70 miles an hour. And coming here tonight, I probably watched a guy go by Palm and Linden about 55, 60 miles an hour. So be careful out there. The fog comes in, we don't know it. We've had people hit right and left in parking lots and on streets. Slow down. People need to slow down and be more careful. Thank you.
Okay. Veterans Day, we had a representative from the State Department of Veterans Affairs, and they presented us with a certificate here designating Veterans Day National Committee hereby designates City of Atwater as a regional site for the observance of Veterans Day 2017. So a little bit of recognition here from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and we had a representative here from the state that made a presentation. It's good stuff, and I was glad that it happened. Mr. Creighton, you got something?
I do. I requested we give Mr. DeWort a chance to come up and say a couple of minutes really quick. Hello. I would love to give him the opportunity right now to do that, even though most of the room's cleared. So if Mr. DeWort, if you'd like to come up.
The TV is still on.
Let the people in TV land meet you.
Well, Mr. Mayor and council members and members of the community, this was an interesting meeting tonight, maybe an understatement, but I want to say first of all to the Mayor Pro Tem and the Mayor, I respect the fact that you spoke honestly about your position on my impending appointment. I think in the long run, my actions, my character, and the way I do business will speak for itself. So I'm not going to stand here and tell you or try to counteract the things that I heard spoken by members of the public. It matters to just for me only in a minor way, because I believe so strongly in personal integrity, and actions speak much louder than words. So I'll leave it at that. Now, as far as where I'm at personally, I worked for 41 years in the public sector, and my retirement came too soon. Now, it may sound strange to you. I think Mr. Bramble probably understands what I'm saying. But that was my entire adult life, from 19 years old up until my retirement. So, and I had a great time surfing the big waves and fishing and scuba diving and flying airplanes and jumping out of airplanes and doing every radical idiot thing that you could think of. But I would go home in the evenings and feel empty, like I wasn't performing. I wasn't doing anything other than pleasing myself, and that's not the way that I formed. You know, that's just not me. And at some point you'll hear more about how I ever ended up right now, right here. And it wasn't just happenstance, and I just spoke to one of the reporters and I explained that history to him. But I do have some connections going back to Atwater that go back to Mayor McFalls. And when this opportunity for the city manager position came open, it was like, this is what I need to do. I'm familiar with the Central Valley. I understand the culture. It's very different from where I live right now, which is in Palo Alto. And frankly, I'm more comfortable with the people in the Central Valley. I spent 16 years of my life in this area. I'm not going to stand here and knock all the people who live in Palo Alto and those places, but they're very different people. Please understand that. I know it firsthand, and I loved the people I worked for in the community of Ceres, and I think I'm going to get to feel the same way about the people here. I liked it when there was a prayer here at the beginning of the meeting. That doesn't happen in the Bay Area. So there's a lot of heart here, and that's the kind of place I want to work. And I have a lot of energy. Yes, I'm old. My hair is whiter than Santa Claus's hair, I think. But in my heart and in my mind, I'm a young person, and I have a ton of energy, and I like people. Even the people who are opposed me are actually the same people who, over the years, have made me a better person and a better leader. And for those of you who are doubtful about what I'm able to deliver to this community, all I can say is just watch. And if I don't perform, send me out the door. So, again, I don't want to bore you with too much, but that's how I feel. And the negative comments tonight, it didn't change a thing about the amount of energy I have and my desire to work with this city council and for the public. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Where was I? Okay, got that out of the way. I wanted to also make note that we had, as you probably know, we had a couple of traffic accidents here within the city and had some loss of life that this time of year, well, any time of year is no good time, but you know, we just had one also last night. In case you didn't know, we had somebody that was hit by a car over in the Save Mart parking lot around 7:30 last night. The bottom line to all this is, for God's sakes, people, be awfully careful out there. I don't know what the circumstances were over in the Save Mart parking lot there, but it sure sounds like somebody just got nailed as they were walking through the parking lot or something there. Initially, that's what it sounds like. Please be careful throughout, you know, the holiday season here, and come back to your families and everybody and your co-workers and everyone on the end of the year. I also want to make note that tonight is the last meeting for Mr. Bramble, although he'll still be in the office here for the next couple of days anyway.
Yeah, next 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, but tonight is the last time you'll see his smiling face here. across the TV waves and everything else. And I just want to take the time right here and now to once again thank you for your dedication and your assistance to our city. You did some miraculous things, and I know that the department heads and I know the council, we all, appreciate the effort that you put in as the interim here for us. And it won't be forgotten, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah. And Mr. Vineyard, did you?
I just want to add something in regards to, we all know what's going on in Southern California.
Oh, yeah.
There's law enforcement, fire personnel going to be out there for a long time. They won't get to have Christmas with their families, is the way things look right now. Hopefully, nature will change its course and help. But I think we need to keep them in their prayers as well.
Yeah.
Because it's an important factor. Thank you.
Yeah, I heard that Thomas Fire today was at 15% containment, and the winds kicked up, and now it's kicked it down to 10% again. So it's not easy, and it's 230,000 acres and growing. That's a big fire going down there. So, and the smoke and everything is horrific. It's even my in-laws. Hi, Maxine. My in-laws over in San Luis Obispo and Morro Bay are choking on smoke over there, so it ain't a good situation. But nonetheless, I just want to add to what everybody else has said. Please be careful and have a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. God bless you guys on the council. As you say, we might lock horns, but I think the world of all of you. This is democracy in action, and I truly love it. So, thank you, folks. Thank you all. Thanks for looking in at home. This meeting is adjourned.